Hey guys, and thank you for joining me for another edition of the Kevin Moore Show. Now, just before the start of this show, I just want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsors. So, you're about to watch an interview with myself and Reverend Tracy L Clark. And during the show, we're offering Tracy's Ultimate Prosperity packages exclusively with the Kevin Moore Show. Now, these three packages offer various different classes that help release any blocks that you may be holding on to regarding personal financial transformation and much more. So go to thekevinmooreshow.com/Tracy Clark or channeling.com/Tracy Clark to find out more. Also, a shout out to my sponsor, Keen. Now, Keen is a trusted network of talented spiritual advisors who are dedicated to empowering people's lives by helping people discover answers to their most pressing questions, including gaining closure, finding their purpose in life, and much more. Now, Keen is giving the Kevin Moore Show listeners the first 10-minute readings for only $1.99. So to get the first 10-minute reading with my sponsor, Keen, just go to www.trykeen.com/Kevin. So thank you for watching and enjoy my interview with Reverend Tracy L Clark. Welcome back to another episode of the Kevin Moore Show. Now, on today's show, I'm about to be joined by my guest, Reverend Tracy L Clark. Now, Tracy came into this world sick with a damaged nervous system that caused excruciating pain. Now, over the course of her life, she has experienced 3 near-death experiences, which eventually led Tracy to embark on a journey of self-discovery and healing. Now, in 2010, Tracy formed the TLC community of extraordinary living, which has allowed her to help people around the world to heal, awaken to their gifts, connect to the God of their understandings, and begin to live the life of their dreams. Now, she joins me today to discuss her journey and the importance of prosperity. Reverend Tracy L Clark, thank you for joining us today.
So happy to be here with you today. We're going to have some fun.
We are. We've been talking for a while right now. And yeah, you have an interesting story. And I know you've done plenty of interviews out there, so I appreciate you coming onto this one. And we've got a few special offers we're going to talk about during the show as well with some of the work that you do. But I just want to go straight to your story. Now, obviously, I've introduced you there as Reverend Tracy L Clark, and we'll get into that as well. But obviously, growing up, I mean, you know, you were quite I guess you would class it as quite a sick child. Is that right?
Yeah, I was actually born really sick. And what people forget is there's different issues when you're born with things versus when they show up later in life. So I had a hole in my chest. I had what they call pectus excavatum. So my rib cage didn't stop growing and it made a really deep hole in the chest, plus a really bad damaged nerve system. So I shook all the time. My eyes, my head, like I looked like I was a bobblehead having seizures. People thought my hips and legs weren't attached. My stomach valve was still sealed shut, but they didn't catch the stomach. So I didn't eat for many months. And people say, how did you survive? They kept giving me pills. They ended up actually strapping me to a bed and feeding me through my head, which is my crown, which is the worst place you could feed a child. But I had nothing on me in terms of where they could put an IV. So back then they didn't know what to do. And miraculously, as I was they prepped my mom for me to prepare her that I probably wouldn't make it because I was in pretty rough shape. And this doctor miraculously showed up from another town and said, I think I know what's wrong with her stomach, why she's not eating. So he was able to get the stomach valve moving. But from there, like it just kept perpetuating from one trauma to living on a mask to breathe. My allergies were so bad. My first near-death experience, I was 7. You know, I was kicked out. We were kicked out of our family home at midnight. My dad moved in his girlfriend. We're 5. We're kicked out of the house. We're on a bus. We end up in a women's shelter. Like it was just one thing after the other. So physically being sick and then emotionally getting all of the other traumas on top.
That's incredible. So 7 years old. Why a near-death experience at seven? And how did you share that with anyone at that age?
Well, it was really back then, like a lot of this stuff, right? When you start to feel, see, hear things, they just you would say nothing. You just thought you were crazy. But yeah, actually I was back then they used to do a lot of allergy testing on the back. And when they tested me, I was allergic to everything. The sun, the moon, the grass, you name it. I couldn't walk past fresh grass, or if I did, I would swell up. I couldn't breathe. So they took me into the hospital to do testing for medicine. My body has always been very sensitive, couldn't take much. They gave me the smallest dose and it actually flatlined me. So my heart stopped. I was on the floor. They had to crash cart me to bring me back. And I actually, that was probably, was a little, what I remembered from that one was just, oh my gosh, when I woke up, I was like, put me back to where I was, because the amount of peace, I'd never felt that before. So as a little person, it was peace. And I was very disoriented, obviously, coming back. I remember it like it was yesterday. And my mom doesn't like to talk about it even to this day. But yeah, she's all the trauma. She's like, I don't know if I want to talk about this. And I don't blame her. She had lost, like was told she was going to lose me a couple of times. And then when that happened, so very traumatic for her. But yeah, the peace, all I can tell you at that point was the feeling. It was the other two where I had very clear visions, memories, and thoughts to come back with.
Incredible. Okay. Yeah. I mean, can Mum talk about that now at all? In the sense that obviously with the work that you're doing, how has she sort of perceived that those experiences of the near death experiences for you?
Yeah, she understands them a little bit more, and we can have more open conversations. But in her generation, it was just hard, right? There were so many things, and you can imagine every generation we become more aware, and right now we become way more aware. And there was a lot of, she's better now because obviously at 5, you and I've shared about this, when I was kidnapped, she had a lot of guilt. She had a lot of shame that as a parent, like, why is this happening to my child? And so you can imagine over the years of her just burying that and just trying to get through. So now we can have a little bit more, but it's still very difficult because there's, we each have to do our own work around it.
And just going forward then, just to the other two near-death experiences now, were they before your marriage dissolved or were they after one of them?
Yeah, one of them was during the marriage. It was actually during the birth of my second daughter. I was very, very sick. I said it was like if anybody remembers MASH, the show MASH, like from the 70s, the room looked like a war zone. But yeah, I was very sick with her. I developed a really, really rare case of what they call venous engorgement. So basically my body, all the veins turned into grapes and I was black from, the breastbone down. And so there was so much blood. So as that whole trauma, I just checked out and I was just like, I'm not going back. I literally, both of the ones I had, the one I had after the marriage as well, I saw colors and sounds and heard voices. Like you can't replicate them on earth. But I heard this, you have to go back. It's not your time. And I'm like, I don't want to, I'm not going back. Like, I just didn't even care even at that point. It was like, just take me and leave me. Like the amount of peace, the sounds, like this music was, and seeing these colors was, you cannot even paint them. Like I have tried all the time. I'm constantly looking and listening. And can I find it? Can I replicate? I can't. And the voice, it was so soothing and it was like so peaceful that you have to go back. It's not your time. And seeing, like I started to see, because you could tell you're getting close. I'm like, wow, I'm seeing all these images of, what look like people in places like, okay, let me come there. That's more fun. But I got sent back. And so when I came back into my body, and I've been out of my body a couple times and I'm like, I don't want to go back in. Like, no. But yeah, when they're like trying to bring you back and you're going, no.
Are you glad you came back though?
I'm very happy. It's going through when you have that much pain and that much trauma and that much hurt that you start looking at the world that it's just scary and nobody cares, and you build these, I call them the BS systems, right, which are what you think they are. So we're telling us stuff, all this BS stuff, and it compounds. But I had no foundation even being born of what something different was. I didn't have it. So I had to find it, and I had nobody to talk to. Nobody understood. So I just thought the world was a big, scary place and we're supposed to be sick. You're supposed to struggle, and that's life. That was my foundation.
So how long before the divorce, from the second near-death experience to when the divorce happened then?
So the divorce, so that when that one happened to the divorce was in, well, there was a process of anybody's broken relationships and having to leave. So there was a 2 year, I knew when I gave birth that that marriage was over. I just knew, yeah, I knew it was done. The way everything unfolded, I knew it was finished. But it took a good 5 years to finally, release out of the marriage, recover. My body took over a year just to recover from the amount of sickness and trauma after that birth, because I was pretty messed up already. And then it compounded. So it was well over a year before I could even get it to repair.
Wow. Okay. And at that time, then, as you've said, you had no one to really reference to that
Yeah.
experience of this so-called energy, this space, whatever this is that you went to, right? That
Yeah.
where we probably come from and go back to.
Yeah.
Where was the journey then to sort of open yourself up
To
to what
open
that
and
was?
say,
Yeah.
aha.
Yeah.
Well, it was really interesting. I ended up, because I needed time away to myself. So I would escape to the bookstore. And I stumbled upon, some of the self-help section. And I remember I was started reading things like Wayne Dyer and stuff like that. And I'm picking them up. I'm like, oh, maybe there's something to this. Like maybe there's something. And I'm like, oh, maybe meditation. Like I heard of meditation, but my life was busy. It was all this stuff going on and just trying to survive. So I started to become what I call a closet reader. So I would hide my books because people would make fun of me if they saw it, or you'd hear, well, that's stupid. Why are you looking at that? But literally, what really kicked me into this journey was when the doctors had said to me, because I had so much pain in my head every day, my nerve system, I wanted to rip my head off every day. Like I was tired of people asking if I was having a seizure. I couldn't eat anything. I was 2 pounds. My ulcers, diverticulitis, are about 5, were so bad throughout life. And the doctor said to me, I'd seen multiple neurologist doctors, and the one said, Tracy, you have to manage this. You're going to have to manage, but your body's failing. There's nothing more we can do. I did everything. Well, I was looking at that point with 2 little kids in tow, being their sole provider. So I say that was I will do anything. I don't care if it's standing on my head. I don't care how crazy this is, because I'd started to read these books, but then I was like, I really have to do something different. Everything I've done isn't working. And so I ventured out to a meditation, and I was like, okay, my brain's working really fast, but I've always seen, felt, and heard. I just thought I was crazy, right? So I'm like, okay, I've just kept putting it in the box. And my sister, actually, who's not really aware, she went to this thing and she's like, I didn't like it, but you might like this lady that was there. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll check her out. I'll do anything. Well, checked her out. She's no longer with us today, but she looked at me and she, one, said, okay, you're not crazy. 2, I have to train you what's going on. 3, we can get your body repaired. And I went down everything. So then I started reading, watching whatever I could. She taught me like the ins and the outs. I was literally watching my body repair overnight. Doctors were like, what's happening? Like, this is impossible. They were like, I don't care what you're doing, keep doing it. And it just evolved. That was well over 17 years ago. And it just kept evolving and evolving and exploring. And I started to realize, she said, the messages you're seeing, because when I was a child, they opened up during the traumatic events, right? And especially on the kidnapping. So the trauma opened it. And I just thought I was crazy, like seeing weird things, crazy things. And it just evolved. And it was 17 years, 18 years later, here we are.
So
having fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you were quite a young mum.
I was a very young mom. Yeah. Yeah. I was a young mom. I had gone into business actually and was very good at it. So when I was in my 20s, I was living like I was 45 years old. And I lived like a really old person. And yeah, I kind of did it all backwards. And then I sold that company to a publicly traded company when I was 26. So I was already like, it's like everything accelerated. And then, of course, I got divorced and took my kids and gave away my money. Start it all over again. I had some
So-
issues there, some shame and guilt around having prosperity at a young age. Yeah.
Well, okay, and that must have been difficult as well. Two young kids, and you're walking away from a marriage where you've got
Yeah.
some form of support. They're not just the money. I'm talking about the other person being there to help out as well. But we tend to, don't we? Some of us stay in relationships where we're just not happy deep down, and we know. Is this, is that the person that I'm gonna, spend my old age with? And if we know it's not, then what are we doing?
Yeah, the vows, the agreements. I had a very stubborn, because I watched my parents get divorced. I actually called my wedding off 5 times. So I was just young and nobody to help me. So I already
Wow.
knew,
Yeah.
I already knew. I didn't have that support. I didn't know what that was like. I didn't have it emotionally, physically, financially. So it was just a very difficult space.
But you knew back then. You didn't go with your intuition back then.
Correct.
And you knew. Is that something you look back on and reflect that? The signs
do.
were there. Do you know what I mean?
They were
Yeah.
all there. Being young, and this is part of our growth and our journey. Am I grateful I have my children? Absolutely. And it was then I would get the feedback. I would say, well, I can't go through with this. I don't want to go through with this. But then it's like, well, we've already paid for the wedding and the people are coming. Like all the other, their perceptions. I was taking on their imprints, which I'd done my whole life. And then, well, I can't let them down. And okay, well, I'm here. And so I may as well, I'm not going to get divorced. So I'll just make it work. And you start doing the whole, well, it's me, only to realize that, no, you didn't listen to your intuition, because we're not trained that when we're small.
Right. And that's no blame to your ex-partner neither.
No,
we're
not at all.
No.
No, not at all.
Because we're all on a journey, aren't we? We're all here to teach each other stuff, and we've all got a brilliance to bring to the world, no matter how small we might think it is, right? We just do it. So that's not taking away anything from anyone else, because that's not
At all. What? He was actually, when I look back, I'm very grateful that I went through that time, because it helped me, one, to say enough's enough. It taught me boundaries. It taught me to listen to my intuition. It taught me to speak up. Like literally, if I have to look back and say who was one of my biggest teachers of life, it was him.
Absolutely. And that could have been done at an older age as well, right?
Sure.
It happens
Any age,
right? Yeah. Absolutely. So just because you were young, I don't think that means much. It was just when you were supposed to have that experience. But my point is, it all led on to where you are now, and
100%.
so now you're listening, right? But it doesn't have to be a marriage breakdown not to listen. It could be with the work that you do now, which we'll get into as well. It can be in so many parts of our lives. Especially this time right now that we're all going through, this is a great time of having to listen, because it's screaming out.
It is screaming the things that, we always say fear is the biggest virus. And if you look back at anything we don't do, right, it's because of fear. Somewhere we have fear. And now we're being forced literally to take a breath, go within, and really look around and say, what is it that I need to actually get real with, shift, change, wake up, and really stand. What I love what's happening in the world is there's a lot of people now coming together with truth and wanting betterment for humanity. So through this whole transition, people are waking up and saying, I got to get right with myself and how I want to live and what's important.
Right, absolutely. And we're going to get back into that, because it's all about what we're talking about. But just to end your journey off as well. So you embarked on a journey of self-discovery and healing, okay? And I think you've told me before, you were a producer, is that right, in Hollywood?
I did TV at
TV.
post-production supervisor. So I was in the film and television side on the post end. Yeah, I ran a post house.
But nothing wasted, because we'll get into where you've sort of gone now.
Nothing wasted.
No,
I know.
no.
I couldn't find my niche. I'm like, where do I want to go? I would get bored really fast, right?
Yeah.
And business skills, they pull you here and there. And
Right.
I'm like, I'm getting bored. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. So when did you quit that job in post-production and stuff?
That was in early 2000s.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So when all this is taking place, all the change is happening for you.
Oh, absolutely.
So what did you become? So you obviously You tell us how in that awakened process of then learning that there's something much more. What skills did you develop, and what where's that led you?
Yeah, you know what? As taking on the journey and looking within and peeling off those layers of the onion, so to speak, and I would move from thing to thing. I loved business. I knew I loved it, but at the same time, I didn't like how business was done for a lot. Right then, I ended up in alternative investments and speaking and doing all these great things with charity and stuff. But again, it wasn't filling my soul. And what I was doing while I was in this process, I kept being fascinated back into the energy world and understanding more about the body. And, I ended up on a film where famous scientists were talking about the body. And that was in early 2000s. And I was like, wow, all the science behind the body. So I'm becoming this little nerd behind science and spirituality and ministry. And I realized that I was over in this more corporate world because I thought that's what we were supposed to do. That's what you're told when you're a little kid. Like, you go to school, you get your job, you whatever, and that's where you are. So as I was deprogramming myself, I was also uncoupling and deprogramming all these thoughts around, I need to do it this way, or I need to show up in this kind of corporate environment or world. And so when the corporate environment, there was a lot of things starting to shake over there. And so when I left consulting in these companies, I was sitting there one day and I was like, and this was over 10 years ago. And I said, all right, at that time I'd say universe, because I had my own journey back to the God of my understanding as well. That's a whole other journey for me. And I was loving it. Like, people would ask me, Tracy, would you work on me? Can you help me do this? I would just do it for fun. And I'm like, where's all my joy? All my joy is when I'm working with people. All my joy is when I'm connected in spirit. And I'm like, so why am I over here? So I had a choice, and spirit will test you. Like, this, that it will test you. So I got offered this very lucrative job in downtown, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, people would say you're crazy. And this was my crossroads. Do I take this job that is so, like, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, not peanuts, or do I start my own company again, working with the people I love and helping to see change and bringing back that God of the understanding? And I sat there, and it was like, if they want to torture you sometimes, because I'm a single mom still, right? And I'm like, I've got these 2 kids I still provide for, love them dear. So it wasn't even just, here's a $90,000 job. It's like, here's almost $500,000 job. Which one do you want? So it took me about a week, and I went in and I went, you know what, God, I want to be happy. I've already done everything else. I bought and sold a company. I want to be happy. And where am I the most happy was in the energy with the people. So I said, no, thank you. People thought I was crazy. I'm like, no, thank you. And I went over here, and it was the best decision because I'm happy every day. And I love seeing people happy. But it was a leap of faith. It was a big leap of faith.
Well, yeah, I mean, look
Trust.
how I mean, even with one child as a single mom, it's still a massive decision. What you took there, and it paid off. So I mean, you're there to prove that it did work.
It did.
But a lot of people, especially in America, but I think other cultures as well, but especially in America, are programmed, to get that job, to take what you didn't take, right?
Yeah.
And I can imagine the pressure that you must have been under from other people to, do the right thing. Is there any wrong decision? If you had taken the other choice, would it really have been a wrong decision?
No, it would have been, I would say all the choices are the right choices, and you can make a new choice at any time. So I was like, you know what? I want to take this leap of faith because I want to be in this space where I can help people and share what I went through to help them get to where they need to go. Because it's hard. Journeys are not easy. They aren't, but they can become fun. They can become fulfilling when we start to see what's on the other side. And so I went, you know what? I knew at some level I could fall back. I could open another door over there if I needed to. I could. And maybe that was the comfort I took in it. Would that kind of level of job be there? Who knows? But there would have been something. But I really wanted and I knew it was just when I made that choice, everything in me just went calm and peaceful. It was so calm. My body went so calm. And I was like, wow, okay. and spirit opened the doors.
God, that's a yeah. And have you felt that experience of calmness in other choices that you've made?
I have, yeah. And that's how I say to people, you're really on that right track, is it's like spirit just comes in and it's just, with every fiber of your being, that's where you're supposed to be. And nothing can derail you. However, that took me time and work to get to the place of going, I'm not going to pay attention to what other people's opinions are. I have to go within and connect. And really, when I feel that level of peace, I know I'm moving in the right space. Even then, there can seem turmoil. If you can go back and get that peace, you're still in the right space.
Okay, yeah. And do you use that for relationships as well in the same sense?
Oh yeah. You mean, yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I'm very blessed now. I have like an amazing, amazing person in my life who's been in there for 4 years. He is like, yeah, when people say, and I didn't know what that is. I would say, I'll teach you how to love yourself. I don't teach what I haven't worked through. That's kind of my theory, right? Because I've seen that. I'm like, I will not teach you. And yeah, I'm very, very blessed. It's like that where you love them more every day and you're like, this is the way it's supposed to be.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah.
So maybe I should have asked you this at the very beginning, but how would you sum yourself up then? What is it that you do now?
What do I do? I created what I call the body regeneration method. So I see, feel, and hear. So I work with people or groups to have them understand what is their body telling them. Because a lot of times we discount our body. Everything's in the brain, right? Well, I think. But when you really start to realize, where does illness and sickness really develop later in life? From all the emotions, all the traumas that get stored in different places in the body. So if you can start to tune in to what your body's saying, because every organ has a story. Every organ is there for a reason. And I always call it your heart drive, not because you have a hard drive in your computer, but your heart drive is your hard drive of your whole being. And we're so conditioned up in the head. If you don't get down into the heart, you're not going to feel those feelings. You're going to discount your intuition. You'll be people pleasing like I was. You'll be making decisions based on maybe your family upbringing or what you've seen. But when you start to connect, the other cool thing about understanding what the whispers of your body is telling you, because you can walk into a room and all of a sudden go, "Oh, I don't feel so good when that person's over here," but you might just discount it. Like, it starts with the little things, but the more that becomes aware, the more you can actually start to command your body to do things, and the body actually will start to let go of the emotions, and then you can actually avert. And I've seen it a lot of times, long-term things from coming in the body. You can get rid of them so they don't have to show up when you're 50.
Even generational stuff from
Lots.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look at DNA and genetic coding. They're always like, it's DNA. But now they've found out it's not. It's just imprinting. So you're the lucky one that imprinted it from the parent or that family member, that grandmother or grandfather, so you could release it and let it go. That's what I did. I had everything my family had. I was the lucky one.
An average client coming to you in a sense then,
Yeah.
or is there an average client? I mean, we've all got different issues, haven't we? But
Yeah.
you're not a medium. Well,
No.
okay, yeah,
Well,
but
I
yeah,
see, feel, and hear, but I'm not going to
right.
connect to your people on the other side. I'll tell
That's
you
what I
what I
mean.
see, and I'll tell you what comes into the energy of your body. A lot of people think that, and I'm like, well, in psychic space, you can change anything. So my space is getting your physical, your mental, your emotional, spiritual connection nice and strong, so you can also feel what's happening in the body, but also we remove the energetic blocks. So I get a lot of people that will come with health stuff, but I also get a lot of people that will come if they're having, maybe they have a block in their careers, or they have a block in their relationship, and they have to start to uncouple whatever the energy blocks is. So I see where they are in the body, and we start to work to
That's
disconnect.
incredible. Okay, and you're channeling some of this information as well. Would you say?
Oh, I channel all of it. Yeah, when I go in and I'm looking at some, yeah, it's totally. It's funny because people will say they'll come back again, or they're in a program, and then they're like, "Remember when?" And I'm like, "No." No, when I'm out, I'm done. I'm on to the next one. Like, you remember, but I won't remember. So
Well, that's a bit like your the community of extraordinary living was born, the TLC
yeah.
community, the site that you've got. Because when you do some of the information on there, it comes through you once, and I don't think you change it after that, do you? Sort of.
No, and that's what I do. So even with audios, things, and people hear it, like it's just live channels. So when I'm doing programs, I'm just live channeling. That's it. So it is different for people because I don't go in and re-edit because I don't want to. I always say I'm not going to re-edit God's message. So it's just here's it. This is how it comes through, and I just put it out raw. Yeah.
Now this is fascinating because I don't get many people on that's sort of specialized in so many. Well, not specialized, but there's so many issues that you can come to you with, but it's all kind of back related to the internal as well with the body, and I suppose you have to align the external with the internal, don't you, as well?
You do. So a lot of people don't know, for example, that their reproductive area is their power zone. So it's business, career, money, relationship. It will be in there, but children, more or less, right? So exactly, the internal frequencies have to change. The internal trauma has to be released, which then has to have an alignment exactly to the external so you can start to draw in what you're looking for and make better choices for you. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Now we have got a special offer that we're going to do on this show with yourself, and it's all related to prosperity, which is important right now. But when people, because right now it is that time, isn't it? Because when I said to you, I'd love to work with you, and your reply was, well, it's got to be about prosperity because that's the time that we're in right now as well.
Yes. Yes. You know what? People ask because there's two things. I do a lot of, okay, so those are the two main areas. And I was just talking because we're in this whole, we're changing all the time. You see things with me change constantly because I'm not stagnant. So you're not going to see a website, for example, stay there for the same for the next 10 years. It doesn't work that way. You're changing, you have to change. So right now, so when it comes to health and it comes to prosperity, and because they do work a lot together, because when your prosperity lines are weak or they're not in the right direction, what will happen is then you get too much stress, then your physical body goes weak, and then there's all these systems around it. We live in a world, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, that centers around having to have prosperity to function, to have the life you want, to do what you want to do. And a lot of people say, well, it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter because what kind of life do you want to have? And when you have things that are easier coming into your life, you have less stress, your body can actually let go of things easier. Well, then you can go and nurture yourself more as well. But what's happening right now and why the prosperity line is so important is 48 times in history and every 90 years, we go through what we call a massive reset in economics, in the way we function as human beings. So you go back in time, there was bartering, then there's silver, gold, then there's paper, and now we're digital. So there's every time we transition, you also have to remove a lot of the programming around your ancestral patterning around money, how you spend it, and you can't have fear around the new coming in. So if you have fear around digital technology, you're going to have fear in your prosperity line. You're going to create blocks, resistance, hesitations, and now you're going to have a hard time creating or maybe even getting that new job or creating new wealth. And we're not taught wealth in school. We're not taught it at all. And we're not taught about prosperity. We're not taught about what it is on every level. And I teach it a lot because it's important. It's part of our world. And if you can be more comfortable, all those patterns, there are trillions and trillions of patterns that people carry in their prosperity line that they're not even aware of half the time.
Right, absolutely. And, especially the times that we live in right now, would you say this is a time when actually, if, yes, you obviously, there are those that have lost work and there are those that are having a tough time right now as well. But, even though that may be the case, whatever you're going through, this is still a great time to manifest.
Oh, this is the best time to manifest. There's where there's a lot of programming, and I see it right now really big, is people are equating now to like the Great Depression. They're going back to the Great Depression. Remember the Great Depression? Everybody was in bread lines and food lines. What they're not telling you, because they don't want you to know this, because they would rather you be in fear. So all that programming will come up from your ancestors. Oh, and you won't even know what it is, but it's circling in the body. But what they don't tell you is during that time, there was more prosperity and wealth creation than ever before. And during this time, there was, but they don't talk about it. They just talk about bread lines. So imagine the more you hear that on a subconscious level, your body's then starting to move into fear and scarcity.
I don't
They
know.
missed.
I don't know even know if that's done on purpose. I'll just say that. I think we just, that's what makes people want to keep watching. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're probably right. Where it's like,
Yeah.
watch some more. But right now, because the way the vibrations are moving and the way we're moving into this 5-dimensional energy and things are becoming clear and there's more truth, this is literally like this year. I love to manifest, and it's, I just say something. I always say, careful what you say, because it'll create. But this has been an incredible year for manifesting. We're just getting going. Like this year into next year, from now to, it's always going to get stronger. But these next 5 years to 2025, focus. You will be able to create like you've never created before, because the way the energies are working with us now and the veils are leaving. That even, I always say it's that old saying, a seed, the small of a mustard seed, plant it and watch how it'll grow. Huge.
That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even just a personal story. Just a few days ago, yesterday, I'm just pricing up, what it's going to cost me to finish this documentary that I've been working on for a while. Not my channeling documentary, but a documentary on a discernment documentary on a story about someone in the conspiracy community. It's called a guy called Captain Mark Richards. And I was thinking that to make this the documentary I really want it to be, I need an extra 10,000, just to get actors to reenact stuff, to hire out a sound stage, just a few bits of equipment, just to do that. That's not even taking a wage from it. That's just to get it done as well. And I'm like, why am I being so scarce about? I mean, I can't be in fear that I'm not going to raise it. I've just got to say, well, it'll happen, but I've got to put it out there, and it'll happen in the way that it's going, is for the highest calling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also that space of it's already happened. So a lot of times when people are speaking to the universe or they're creating, even when I see people in prayer, they're like, oh, please, please, I'm having such power. I'm like, no. The universe already knows, the God of your understanding, whatever it is for you, already knows all your troubles and your woes. But when you're saying, it's like, well, thank you. I already know that $10,000 this year and more. And better, and there's more, because what we do as humans is we only access this much, but spirit has infinite, right? So we can change that by that's already on its way. It's already done. Okay, thank you. I know it's already done.
Yeah, it's funny. For this one, I feel that it's in alignment with my body. And what I mean by that, there's no resistance in the body. Because
there's none.
Yeah.
Your body's clear. You can see it. You're already, you're like, it's already done, already here. And now you'll see more of the signs as the connections. And that's a knowing, right? When you just know, it's like, well, it's already.
Well, yeah, I don't know how, but yeah, but that's a big part of your work, and isn't it about alignment with the body, and all back to the body, which is what a lot of people don't do, which is what I found fascinating about what you do, and getting into the heart space to manifest as well. I think you mentioned it a little bit at the beginning of this interview. What does that mean for you to get into that heart space?
So I would say the hard drive, right, which is our main motherboard of everything going on into the system. So what we all do is we have been conditioned from birth to basically think, right? Go to school, think. But when we're thinking, you can also have, now your mind can be work for you or against you, right? So if you have those negative patterns, they can also distract you from the things that could be clear visions, clear communication. So when you can start to drop into your heart, and I always teach people a little exercise where they can tap the heart to thank you, God, or universe, reset, let go. What you do is you start to draw the energy to the heart. And when you start to say, how do I feel about this? What am I feeling about that information? Or what am I feeling about what's happening? You start to actually activate the heart drive area. And the frequency, when you start to do that, becomes very clear. So a lot of times people have a hard time manifesting because they have a million thoughts going on up here. Their body's sending out many frequencies. So it becomes like frayed information. So you have many, many, many beacons going out, and spirit's like, okay, which one are we grabbing onto? So when you go to the heart and you can focus of what you feel, and you can drop down into that heart of what you feel about it, you will actually start to notice the more you do that. You can have angst in other organs. You can have thought patterns that come up. And when they're released, that hard drive will send a very clear communication. out into the universe, and all of a sudden it'll start to draw back to you what you want very quickly.
And is that almost like, tell me if I'm wrong, is that almost like perceiving what it would feel like to have that which you wish or you desire to bring into your life, or is it a bit different to that?
It's a little bit deeper and a little bit different, because when you're actually, what do I feel about, when you're asking, what do I feel about that, you will also notice other emotions will come up. You might feel like, well, why am I doing that? I can't do that, because you'll have a thought pattern that maybe dad said you couldn't. When you feel that you've had it in your life and you're drawing and you're like, oh, it feels so amazing to, I don't know, do that career or have this healthy body, that's part of it. That is part, but you got to go deeper, because you can mask yourself and pretend that feels wonderful. Like most people say, what does it feel like to win $1 million? Oh, it feels amazing, right? They're not really dropping into the heart. They're not really connecting. And when you connect into the heart space, you can start to see all the disconnections. You'll feel them in your body. You'll be like, oh, that feels amazing, but, and then the buts will start to come up, the BS systems. Once you clear that and you go, how do I truthfully feel about that? Yeah, I feel at peace. I feel at calm. I feel that's coming through. Okay, that's okay now. I can actually move on to something else.
And in this time, which will probably last for a while, right?
Yeah, quite a while.
Yeah. Could we have multiple things that we would like to have prosperity with or attract into our life?
100%. People prosperity is everything. It can be finances. It can be your health, right? It can be your relationship with spirit, whatever that is for you. It can be your relationship with your loved ones, your children, your family, your lovers. Prosperity is huge. Like when you start to unlock that realm, I like that word better than abundance for a few reasons, because sometimes it can get a little confused. We all use it, but you don't want an abundance of bad things, right? You can have that, but sometimes it can get confusing in the body. So the prosperity is you can have that overflow of connection. You can have that overflow of love in your life, in your space. It can go everywhere.
Amazing. Okay, and obviously you just mentioned there the various, so many different types of prosperity. Let's just go to health as well, because that's a big one. I mean, It could just, well, I think that's one that we can all be in common with. Let's just say that. So health, someone is in pain a lot. Mm-hmm. You know, at 24-hour pain, they're taking medication to try to, ease the pain, hardcore tablet, hardcore medication, whatever it may be. But how are they not going into their body when it's the body that's in pain?
Yeah. So when the body shows up with pain, you've ignored all the other centers. So your physical body is the last place it shows up. So you have physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, psychological, and psychic bodies. So when it shows up, your body is going, hello, you have ignored all these things for so many years. Now you're not going to ignore me. But the problem is what people do is they say, I have a pain in my shoulder. And my pain in my shoulder will never go away. So they look at the shoulder. When 99% of the time, the pain that's in the shoulder is sitting somewhere else in the body. And when you start to look throughout their timeline of the emotions, the traumas, the things that they've carried, they'll sit on their shoulders. And when you start to remove it. So for example, I'll give you an example. I have a woman who, I spoke with her one time. She used to walk with a cane. And her knees were so bad. And she needed the cane and she was in pain all the time. You could see throughout her life, she literally had like constantly, every time she tried to move forward, it was like somebody was like kicking her at the knees, right? So everything would fall. And every time she would move in her life, she would constantly fall down. It would never go the way she wanted to. She had all this programming. Her support systems were gone, everything. As soon as we recentered that in the body, the next day she emailed me. She goes, I don't have to walk with a cane today. I don't have any pain in my knees. But she had been carrying this trauma for 40 years. Like this was something that she came into with birth. So you're so, like I said, you get so used to something, so conditioned to something, the subconscious just keeps pulling it in. And we think it's normal.
Do you think that the issues that we have in our body, as some of those that you just described there, other people could take ayahuasca and maybe could have a number of ayahuasca sessions, and that's one way for them to heal, because they're getting into they're connecting with that greater part of them, which is forcing them to heal that other aspect which has caused those issues. It's the same thing with your work as well. You're sort of, you're having to take responsibility and go within to really come up with your own answers on what is that really triggering, why, what is it there to teach us maybe.
And that's what I'd like to teach people, how to connect to the system and how to move the energy. So the things they can say and do to move it out of the body when it comes up, because you need to be your own person. I don't live with you every day, so I'm not going to be able to do that every day. Even when you live with people every day, they have their own journey. So I don't ever invade. People like you never invade. If they ask, fine. If not, it's not for me to invade. So to teach, to learn the simple things that you can say, that you can do to unlock the body, to release what's happening. You can take those other journeys, but one of the things, and whatever works for people, I say you do it. If it's working, you keep doing it. But one of the things that I see, especially with this transition, people need to be empowered to be able to do things now. Like, you need to be able, if you're in a business meeting or you're walking down the street, and you need tools so you can access what's going on in the body, release what's going on in the body, and continue with your day and still feel like you're in control of it.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of your work as well, is that, the answers lie within you, and your work helps them to connect back to, let's just call it the connecting back to their soul, whatever, something that's greater than them, that is them, but it's not so present sometimes. Do you know what I mean? We're here to have this experience, but it's, you look in someone's eyes. What are you actually looking at deep within? You're looking at the consciousness, aren't you, of that person?
Where
does that come from?
Spirit. That's why I say, God, if you understand, it might be Pokeroo. That might be yours. I don't care. Whatever you want to call it. It's source, universe, divine. It's like, it's a presence of love. It's this ultimate presence of love that we come to, that all those answers are in you. And I say it's almost like a game. Like, it's like, I looked at it like a fun game after a while of, what can I get rid of today? Or what do I not need today? So I would make fun with it, to play with it. Because the other thing I don't like to see happen with people is then they get the heavy of it. Oh, well, maybe that's a curse, or maybe that's a dark energy or a demon. I'm like, no, guys, you don't want to go there, because that can make you feel heavy, versus what is the joy of releasing this, or what is the joy of what I'm learning today?
And you'll probably manifest that. Do you know what I mean? There's probably no such things as that until you manifest it to make it real, right? I'm not saying we don't have hauntings and stuff like that, but I don't think they're half as bad or severe as what the movies make them out to be. It's probably just.
I've had some pretty horrific encounters, and you're correct. Yeah, no, they're very rare, and people want them to be like, it's so normal. Exactly.
Now, if someone's broken their back, for example, and they're having to live with medication and everything else, but still, you would say, are you really tuning into the other parts of you that were, or something was trying to tell you something that has caused this event to happen? You're not saying, well, we're going to get rid of that broken back, right? We're saying, can we help you, learn to live with that pain, but maybe ease it by looking at the deeper core issues.
To release it and to understand. But I've seen some crazy things. I never say never, but here's the but. You have to be willing to engage and do that work. But you can minimize how much pain is in the system. You can look at recreating your body. What people forget, and this is the one thing that I love about the body, and nobody really talks about, because we're all up here connected to source and universe, but your body started with your heart, and no doctor, no medical person came in and put on your hands, your toes, your eyes. Like, you just grew. You grew. Your body knows what to do. Your body knows how to repair itself. Your body knows how to restore itself. And we have these great spaces. So if you break your back, you have to go through all that process, but you can also work with your body to do some pretty cool things that your body will start responding to, that you maybe didn't think possible, with even far beyond minimizing just pain.
Hey, we don't even know that person that's done that, what childhood issues that they've had, what issues in their, which then triggered other issues in their life, and what their soul is trying to teach them to put them into such a situation that they will have to be forced to love themselves. There's so much more going on underneath the surface level sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
There's so much, and that's what people discount. That's why I love, like, people get to know what your body's telling you, because we don't talk about it, but it's always screaming. And if you have physical issues coming out, you're not paying attention. So yes, the body is saying this is one of your journey. Like, there's a lot of things you can wipe off your journey if you start paying attention. And there's a lot of things, like, people say, could you never get anything? And no, if that's part of my journey, it could show up. Any of us at any time could have something show up.
And you have clients that see you as well, that when, as we've said this before, when they've got blockages in their life, there's that blockage in the body is representative of some blockage in their life as well. It's all connected, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all connected. And usually it's crazy. Like, someone will say to me, oh, we worked on, maybe it was a reproductive issue. And then all of a sudden they attract in the person that they're just madly in love with, that actually is the right person. Like, it's crazy. Once the body starts to unlock and you're connecting with spirit in your way and you're moving it your way, because there's no right or wrong way. When you're doing that, how many other things start to show up in your life?
Well, absolutely. And obviously, yes, prosperity, and it works into all sorts of areas right now, right? And people could take the course, or people could think about doing the special offer that we're going to talk about as well, or just even to do other work with yourself, or just even consider this, right? But there are distractions on the path as well. Just because it feels right what we're saying right now, you can be distracted to then have to really, is this really what I want? Can this really help me? Do you know what I mean? We live in a time of distraction as well, don't we? Of help.
We live in a time of quick fixes, and this is a way of life. This is a way of being. This is a way that you integrate. It's not a pill and you're finished. Like, when you want to change your body, your soul, your spirit, when you want to connect, when you want to create and really manifest, it's not just one time. It is a way of living, a way of being. It's why I create the things I do, so you're constantly engaged in the energy. It's simple, like when people say gratitude every day. Well, I do gratitude every day, and I say, truthfully, I can see you do it about maybe 15 days out of a month. Oh, okay, well, I forget. So I said, you're not doing it every day. So when you do something, it's like habits, right? People, you've got to create new habits. However, if you're on that journey for 3 months or 6 months, you may not see what you're looking for at that point, but there's all these other things being created. And then you can go back into your old habit. And you go into it based on programmings that are coming in, distractions, everything else. And if you don't have that inspiration for you to be number one, for you to be a priority in your life, you can fall off. And then people go, oh, that didn't work for me. But the people you see, like myself, I didn't get off the train. I stuck with it for 17 years, repaired, restored, regenerate every part of my body, but I live and breathe it every day. You don't have to live and breathe it like how I do, working with people every day. It's about taking that 10 minutes or that 15 minutes of connection and be aware when you go outside every day. How are you connecting? How are you looking at things? What are you doing to allow your body to move through something that might be a negative energy? So you're consciously, you bring that awareness in. That is a game changer.
And be careful what you give your attention to. I mean, I know that you probably don't watch a lot of news, but you probably keep up with, the bare basics. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and I'm not saying the media's bad. I'm not saying that, and I know you're not really. I'm just saying in general, there's a lot of on the awakened path. There can be a lot of distraction in the sense of misinformation, disinformation as well.
Lots.
And we don't want to use our discernment sometimes. We want to be told what to think, say, and do, and that's more of a religious thing. And when you
don't
step
want
in,
that either.
No, but when you step, yeah, right. Well, unless it was a religion where you came up with your own understanding of what you think is the truth,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Form your own personal religion, right? There's a lot. There is a lot of misinformation out there, isn't there? And me saying that, people will say, well, how do we know this is not a distraction? But you come from love. That's the difference.
Yeah, and it has to be loving. It has to be compassion. It has to be understanding of how all of us are going to go on our journey differently. And one of the things is also be able to move out of judgment. They really do. Like, it's really, each journey is different, even though there can be similarities and you can see similarities, but it's coming from that place of love and compassion and allowing people to go through it. And how one person goes through it is going to be different than another. And that's that whole, like I said, whatever that understanding is, and big discernment. Like, you're correct. I'll skim through very quickly, like max, maybe 3.5 minutes of what the news is. I don't need, it hasn't really changed. I'm like, okay, it doesn't really affect me in that space. It's just sort of, you're going to go through it regardless. So I spend little time on that and more time in my connection and making sure there are days I'm human. I'll go through the day and go, oh, wait a minute, what happened today? Or it happens once in a while, but for the most part, I'm just looking around. How can I be more aware? And I ask at the end of the day, and it's a good tip for people at the end of your day, say, did I serve the best way I could today for myself and others?
And it's okay to slip up.
Let us slip up. We're human beings. That's probably the biggest thing that drives me crazy from people. They're like, well, I wasn't perfect and I didn't make, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, Spirit uses really crazy people to make history change that you would be going, what the heck? But it's perfect. And we're human beings. And you know what? That's the biggest one. People say, well, did I fail if it didn't come this way? I'm like, I don't believe in failure, because if we don't fall down, if we don't have, like, if I didn't have all those challenges and kept falling down, I wouldn't have getting back up. And you got to keep getting up so you can do something different and learn something different. It's just a journey. Be kind. Be kind. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much I could be on here for a long time with you, and even what you just said there, be kind, and that to me even goes back to, we're not kind to ourselves in the choice of, well, is this what I'm happy in my life, or do I want to do it because I feel like I have to out of some other need. And I know we've spoken about that, but God, I see it in people that are not happy, but they're doing what they think is the right thing because they think that living their passion is not going to pay the bills. But I just don't. Yeah, I'm kind of not 50-50 on it. I'm more in alignment with yourself, but I can also understand them as well. But then where's their happiness?
There's what I call building a bridge. If people are wondering, I call it building a bridge, and you build a bridge from where you are now to where you really want to go. So if where you really want to go is, say, okay, you want to be in film and television, maybe that's where someone wants to go. So the bridge maybe here right now is in the corporate, like where I was. I was in corporate and I built the bridge over here. I didn't realize what I was doing until I looked back. And you build the bridge so you now work towards where that passion is. So you don't have to have as much fear come up. And when you work towards where that is and you start to deprogram yourself and deprogram from everything that people have thrown on you that tells you this is the right way, because your way is the right way. We're just guides. Everyone's a guide, but in the end, you're the right way. When you build the bridge, you'll be surprised how quickly you can go from here to here. So I've seen it, like I have naturopaths who were in clinics, wanted their own clinic. We build the bridge, we give them the tools, the understanding, remove the fears, and now they have their own practice.
And I just want to thank you for that. And I just want to add this on. I know you've said this, but I'm going to say it again. We and you said this before we actually went on air. People want the quick and easy. They want it to, they don't want to do the hard work. And well, would it feel like hard work if you are more in that building that bridge? If you are trying to do something more in alignment in the bigger picture, but there's no quick and easy fix. That's the thing, right?
No, there isn't. And the more you learn that and unplug from a lot of the programming too, you start to realize the old behaviors that you let go of. And so it becomes more joyous. And then you find you're in these creative moments and you're building and you're having a good time. Like when I go into full channeling mode, and sometimes it's my poor boyfriend, I'm like, pull the phone over. Like we'll be driving. I'm like, oh my gosh. He's like, get the phone out. And it just starts moving and the messages move. Or I carry books around with me because I'm scribbling all the time. I'm like, there's a message. And so it becomes the joy. Exactly. But if you're always looking, we're such an instant society. And that is not work of the universe. Like the universal journey isn't about instant. It's about breath. It's about peace. It's about understanding. And it's about observation. And we've stopped looking and feeling, and it's just, give me this, that feels better. Give me that, I feel better. Give me this, I feel better. But the feel better is only maybe a day, maybe a month, and you're right back to where you were. But on this journey, when you can observe and you can disconnect, so from what's going on right now in the world, people are like, why are you so calm? I'm like, one, I can see there's a lot of joy and greatness coming, but I observe. I'm not caught up in it. I observe. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to choose to partake in that because I can observe it. Oh, I had depression, anxiety so bad. Like I was scared of the whole world. Like I said, because I was wrapped up into it. I was wrapped up in what everybody was saying and doing. And when I kind of pulled back, but I had a lot of patterning that that's what you do, right? That's what you do. So when you observe, all of a sudden, you're not connected to that collective field. Your body will be more peaceful and you will be more clear to create what you want to create. It won't bother you.
No. Well, no, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I just wanted to add anxiety there because obviously I see it everywhere right now. Do you know what I mean?
Which we all do. Go outside. Yeah. It's everywhere. People are angry. Right now, it's like people look at kids talking about going back to school and fears of virus. And like they're getting all wound up rather than stepping back and saying, okay, what can I do about this? How can I interact with this? And why am I so afraid?
Right. Yep. Absolutely. And I mean, well, it's just a time of change, isn't it? Which is always a good thing in some respects. Do you know what I mean? We're probably all crying out for it in different ways, which we didn't even want to listen to it. Do you know what I mean? But now, guess what?
You said it well. People weren't waking up really as fast as they should, and no one was listening. So, it's no different than when you get a bad health ailment. You're not listening, or you get a car accident. So Spirit's like, here you go. Now, please pay attention, listen, and we got to make change. That's what the planet's doing right now.
Absolutely. And going back to your final near death, I know I didn't cover that, the third near death. Why did you need 3 for you to listen?
I was just, you know what, guys? For people listening, I was a mess. I was a mess. When I was born, I was a mess from everything. I was a mess. I had a lot of, I learned later, and this is a kind of a different topic, but I had a lot of, they would call it enemy spirit, kept trying to also make sure I would leave. So I was kind of battling. What people don't get is in the spirit world, when you ask for things, there's a battle kind of going on. There's between the light and the dark. There is an energy that has to take place before your request actually comes down. People don't understand that. So, when I look back though, I always had something that would pull me out of the darkness, pull me out. So yeah, you should typically need 1 and get it. But I had so much programming. It literally was the 3rd one. And after the 3rd one, my daughter, she was only 5. And she said, she came home that day, very intuitive. She sees very, very clear. She said, Mommy, I have a question for you. I'm like, okay, we're very open. She goes, what would happen if I just came home and you died? What would I do? And this whole near-death experience was literally like, she was picking up what was going on, right? So I knew at that point, like, no more fooling around. You got to be here as hard as it is. I just at that point declared I will choose to be here and not leave. So if people are listening going, it's hard. I get it's hard. I had to have 3 before I just wanted to go. I wanted to go. So I understand.
I think a lot of us secretly feel that way in times that we would never even be honest enough to want to, to say that. So thank you for being honest, because this is not easy. But you've been through it, and, you can have the life that you wish. You can. That's a big why we're doing this show. If I could
go back to my little self and say, you just keep going through, because where you're going to end up, you're going to love it, where you're going to wake up and jump out of bed and no pain and happy. Well, then maybe I wouldn't have had to die 3 times, but I didn't believe it. I literally couldn't conceptualize it. I couldn't believe it. And this whole energy thing, I was like, what are you talking about? You guys are nonsense. Like, I was in that frame. I'm like, pretty much an atheist. You guys in the spirit world are full of crap. Like, that's where I was when I started. I was so disillusioned, and I was so hurt, and I was so angry and frustrated. That was me when I started to wake up. I'm like, you guys are full of crap.
Well, there are in our field, unfortunately, a lot of people, these so-called echelon people in this field that get a real high following, that you can just see they've come from a religious background before, and they're just reincarnated, in that religiosity again, and they're doing the same bloody thing. Do you know what I mean? In this field.
It is, and it's scary. And that's why people say to me, people ask me, why did I become a non-denominational reverend? And I will tell you, I literally had a message 5 years ago that scared the crap out of me. That was, there's a group of people, a whole bunch of people need to come around the world to help get rid of all of that old programming, right? Dogma, so to speak. And it's ingrained and it's heavy. And I mean, like multiple people. There's good teachings, bad teachings, and whatever people need to have that faith and that trust. And so I was like, what? There's going to be a whole bunch of us that come together to help. I'm like, I don't want that task. See you later. Bye. But what I did want to create was a place and a community where people could have their independent thinking, not you do this and you're going to get the, not rules and regulations, but a place where people could come, be loved, be supported, be honored on whatever their journey is, and be accepted. Because I was a misfit, I was bullied, and I said, I want a place, but can still connect whatever the God of their understanding is, and it's okay their way.
Right, right. Well, you say all programming. I say all programming in modern bodies, in new bodies, because these are younger people. Some of these people, yeah. And it's incredible just to see the flocking like sheep to some people, and it's like, oh, hang on a minute, you're so addicted to this person's truth. Where the hell's yours?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I so agree with you. It's like, that's why I say, ask, what is the truth about this for me? Like, no, it has to be your truth, your understanding. And even I've been criticized. I've had people say, well, Tracy, even from certain religious backgrounds, they're like, well, you don't do it our way, so you're wrong. You're a, bad juju or something. I'm like, well, what if I don't agree with your way? Well, you're still wrong. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense, because we're unique. We're all unique. If we're all children of the universe, divine, God, whatever you want to call it, then we are all meant to be in love. So whatever that looks like. So I'm not going to judge you, but I get a lot of judgment back about it.
Well, a lot of it's mixed in with conspiracy nowadays as well. The spirituality, conspiracy field are sort of merged in, and it's surprising to see that even in my own lifetime. Maybe it's been there for a lot longer than I've ever been in this field, but I mean, I don't know, I just see it more and more right now, and it's like, wow, when did that become a reality? But there you go.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, there you go. I do that a lot of times too. I just look and I'm like, really? Where's the love in that? Okay.
Absolutely. But just before we leave you, and I know you've given us over an hour's worth of your time right now, and I really didn't. Well, I appreciate it, but I didn't expect it to go on that long, right? So thank you. And just going over the special offer as well, just tell us about some of the things in the special offer that are there for people.
Yeah, with the prosperity. So I pulled together, there's about 10 hours of teaching. So what I like to do is to teach people. Then we also shift the energy together so you can be empowered. It's actually around finances, career as well, like how you can move through different things if you're having challenging times. So I take also a lot of my information and share it with you when I sold my first company and the things that happened. So I mix my practical and then the energetic together. So anybody that's ready for a boost, ready to learn about new things as well that are coming down the pipe. So there's a lot of new information that things will be changing in our monetary system. And because that was a background, I take all of that information and also give it freely. You can do what you want with it, take what you want, but also be able to shift. So I go through a lot of the belief systems as well. So we shift that. So it crosses a whole, basically life package. So you can do meditation if that's what you want. There's one in there too. There's some teachings, but basically there's 10 hours of just explaining and then shifting. So I like to tell you what I'm looking at, tell you what's happening right now, and then shift the energy. Then you can take it and shift it any way you want. I give you little tools that you can use every day. And then, because I want you to go out and be empowered, you to go walk in your life and make your decisions and do what you need to do. It's all about you.
Absolutely. And basically, you just go to channeling.com/Tracy. And then from there, you'll be taking care of the customer then, and they'll be coming to your portal. And there's a lot more there than just this as well. But this is what we think right now would be helpful for people.
Yeah, it's really going to help because it is transitioning time. And there's no reason to be afraid. There's no reason. The one thing I want to say about prosperity, if I could reiterate it quickly, is the only reason somebody feels they're not good at it or it's not for them is they just never brought the knowledge in. So once you're armed with a little bit more information that you also can take the energy of it and discern it, then you become more empowered. So never discount yourself. You have it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm surprised we got as far as we did, because I thought with there's more to your story that we could have talked about, right? And we will do another time. We will do, because there's a few things quite a few things that we didn't cover there, and I'd like to go into. But I think there's a lot to take in there that we've talked about, and some really helpful, empowering information. And I really like what you do as well. I think it's just so needed right now. But it's always been needed. You know what I mean? But yeah, all at the right time. So I'm glad to have got you on.
Yeah, thank you. We are at the right time. Now this is, like I said, when I had my moment, I had to do something different and I had to be serious about it. And this is the time to make yourself a priority and start doing things different, because watch, when we come out of this, there's going to be some really pretty amazing things unfold on the planet for all of humanity. That's what I get excited about. But you need your health to do it.
That is so true. That is so true. And your website is?
TracyLClark.com.
Okay. Well, that's been coming up on the screen as well, and we'll put that in the link in the description as well. Just a final message. What's one important thing you could leave us with?
Oh, stop being afraid and really trust, no believe. That's my saying. That you do have so much power inside of you. And the only reason you might doubt it is based on information you've had, but it's there and it's literally ready to unlock. And this is the time to do it. This is the time. If you make yourself a priority, watch what you will start to create manifest. Even you will be surprised. It'll be better than what you could imagine.
Absolutely. Well, Reverend Tracy L Clark, I just want to say thank you so much for the time that you've given us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure.